When I think of Professor McGinn, I think of Edouard and the STS matrices.
Human survival and thrival.
Now we're cooking with fire.
Professor with like crazy hair.
Noblesse oblige. Whomever receives much is obliged to give much.
Really excited in lecture.
The man who pioneered the best major at Stanford.
The following is a short list of technologies that can be illuminated by STS thinking. The internet, nuclear weapons, televisions, cell phones, radar, robots.
25 years later, I still remember my first meeting with Bob McGinn, and it was a really important turning point in my own discovery about what it was to be a professor. I got my PhD about 2 weeks before. Had never taught a class or anything, and quite early in my first semester, quarter, I was invited to attend the STSS meeting to discuss the future of the program. And Jim Adams was just transitioning out, and Robert was transitioning in. And I remember sitting at this meeting and being shocked by the idea that faculty think about what a field is. I had never had such a conversation or had a notion of what is a curriculum or any of this stuff. And I just remember Robert managing the meeting very thoughtfully, carefully, and making sure that all the different views were heard, but also sort of keeping a rein on the meeting. And it struck me then that one could do this. And for many years afterwards, I would often speak with him about how to think about fields and how to articulate ways of talking about fields. And so he was really my first mentor to show me how to do that.
I first got acquainted with him in STS 101Q, which is a seminar class, which is 3 hours on a Wednesday afternoon. So you kind of really need to be pretty dynamic and interesting to kind of, well, just keep the interest of everyone in the class, right? So I remember having a 3-subject notebook for that class. One of the sections was for homework, one of them was for class notes. Then the third section was just for quotes that he said in class, just because I felt I just needed to have that section.
You kindly had me to your office and listened while I talked about the book that I was writing, and gave me this wonderful feeling that it made sense, that it was doable, that it was interesting, and it was the very first time since my getting hired here that one of my colleagues seemed to really get the thing I was trying to do. It was enormously comforting, enormously encouraging, and it kept me going for a long time. So I really appreciate that. I mean, I know you're famous for teaching students. I enjoyed being a student for a little while there. It was really nice.
Windmills, refrigerators, rockets, steam engines, airplanes, crops, guns, radios, teleprompter.
I was really impressed by one of the lectures he gave at the very end of STS, and I would like to read a selection from it. I suggest that fulfilling work is work that affords not just good compensation and opportunity for personal growth through meeting challenges posed to one in one's work, but also opportunity for expressing one's individuality in one's work and for doing something one believes to be socially meaningful. In that light, whatever area of science or engineering you enter, consider pursuing work that makes a contribution, not just to technical progress per se, but also to social progress.
I remember, as we were on the board together, the kinds of things that we had to do. One of them, which was to keep the idea that engineering and science have to be front and center in any program that's science, technology, and society. That it's not enough to study it simply from a cultural perspective. That perspective is important, but without understanding the science and without getting people from the science and engineering involved, you lose a great deal of the specificity and the understanding that makes real solutions possible in this domain. And I think Robert has fought as hard as anyone to make sure that STS at Stanford keeps that perspective.
Paintings, buildings, VCRs, language, games, chemicals,
He had us all over for dinner at the end of the quarter, which is one of my favorite Stanford memories. Having Applewood gourmet pizza and cooking with him, and we did our final presentations, and it was just a very, very cool moment in my undergraduate experience, and it was great to have faculty members so willing to get to know students and invested in what he was teaching.
What has most impressed me about Robert during my time at Stanford is his openness throughout his entire career to new suggestions and ideas for the program. It would be really easy for somebody who became the director of a very successful program to not change things up, to just do business as usual. But that's really not Robert. He brings a lot of creativity and innovation to the program. And even though he has very strong opinions, I also discovered very early in my first year working here in 2005, 2006, that he's really open to challenge and to ideas that come from a very different direction than he's accustomed to. I think that's what's kept the program growing and changing over the years, and I think it's one of the really unique things that Robert brings to his teaching and to the program as a director. And that will be one major part of his legacy, I think.
STS is more than just an interesting topic. It's McGinn, it's his passion, and now I am STS, and hopefully I will gain that same passion that he has.
Really, the buck stopped with Robert, and I think without him, we wouldn't see what we have today.
Also just a very dynamic man. You know, you can tell that outside of being a professor, he's got a very rich appreciation for the arts, the fine arts, music, opera, that he just kind of infects other people with during lecture as well.
Just been a really great mentor for me.
McGinn made an impact through his passion for teaching, his powerful intellect, and things he knows and tries to pass on to others.
And he's just a great person to talk to in general.
He's just been a great part of my Stanford career, and I'm absolutely thrilled that I got the chance to know him.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, McGinn.
Thank you, Professor.
Teflon, Post-it notes, the short-handled hoe, cyclotrons, bicycles, unicycles, tricycles, floodgates, pianos,